Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation 4x squared plus 4y squared minus 56x minus 24y plus 231 equals 0.
Fat Math, the right path to develop the fat brain that you've got. Hello everyone and welcome to Fat Math TV.
In this video, we will have finding the center and the radius of the circle given the standard equation. So finding the center and radius of the circle given the standard equation or the general equation. Number 1, identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared equals 100. So we need to identify h, k, and r. So here's what you can see. The standard equation is just x squared plus y squared equals 100. So since we don't have any minus h or minus k here, the center is at 0, 0. If you can recall, the standard equation of the circle with center at 0, 0 is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And this happens to be x squared plus y squared. And this 100 is the r squared. So if r squared is 100, to solve for r, you take the square root of both sides of the equation. Square root of r squared is r, and square root of 100 is 10. Therefore, the radius is 10. Example number 2. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared equals 50. Again, this one, the center is at 0, 0. And then the radius is square root of 50. You have to take the square root of 50 because what you see here in the standard equation is r squared. And the square root of 50 is, or can be simplified to 5 square root of 2. How do we simplify a radical? You just have to factor this in such a way that one of the factors is a perfect square, so that you can apply the rules and you can put that outside. You can extract the square root of a perfect square and leave the other one inside. So you will get, in the case of 50, the factors are 25 and 2. And 25 is a perfect square, and the square root of 25 is 5. And for the 2, you cannot extract the square root of 2, just leave it as square root of 2. So your radius is 5 square root of 2. Example number 3. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 64. So here we have a standard equation. And the center can easily be identified because what's here is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And this one here, the 1 is the h and 4 is the k. So the center is 1, 4. And then for the radius, take the square root of 64, that is 8. So the radius is 8. So center 1, 4, radius is 8. Number 4. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x plus 5 squared plus y squared equals 2. We can easily identify the center. H here is negative 5. The k here is 0. So the center is negative 5, 0. And then for the radius, just extract the square root. Square root of 2, you can no longer simplify that. So that will be your answer. Square root of 2. Example number 5. Identify the center and the radius of the circle with equation x plus 7 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 16. H here is negative 7. K is negative 6. So the center is at negative 7, negative 6. R squared is 16. Take the square root of 16. That is 4. So the radius is 4. Example number 6. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y plus 1/4 squared equals 81. So here h is 0, k is negative 1/4. So the center is at 0, negative 1/4. And then the square root of 81 is 9. Therefore, the radius is 9. Example number 7. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared plus 2x minus 4y minus 4 equals 0. This time we can't easily identify the center and the radius because the given equation is not in standard form. This is in general form. So what you're going to do is you have to transform this into the standard form. So how are you going to do that? So the standard form looks like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So your equation should look like that. So what are you going to do first? First, you have to put together the x's. So x squared and 2x should go together. Okay, here. And then y squared and negative 4y should also go together. And then put the constant to the right side. If you will add positive 4 to both sides of the equation, that will transfer the negative 4 to the right side. That is going to be positive 4. And then the next step is what you call completing the square. You have to make this one a perfect square trinomial so that it can be factored as a square of a binomial. So, what are you going to add here so that it's going to be a perfect square trinomial? You have to take half of this term, half of positive 2, and then square it. So, half of positive 2 is 2 over 2. That is 1. You square 1, that is 1. So, you should add 1 here to make it a perfect square trinomial. And if you add 1 to the left side of the equation, you should also add the same number to the right side. You have to do the same for the y. Y squared minus 4y should be added by a constant so that it becomes a perfect square trinomial. Same process. Take half of this, half of 4. That is negative 2. And then square that. That is positive 4. So you add 4 here and you add 4 to the right side. What's next? Since you already expressed this as a perfect square trinomial, this can be factored as a square of a binomial. What are the factors of x squared plus 2x plus 1? That is x plus 1 times x plus 1 or x plus 1 squared. So you should be familiar with factoring trinomials here. And so that you can remember it easily, what you're going to do is for x squared, just have x. And then for this one here, for the second part here, just put the half of the middle term. What is half of 2? Positive 1. And then you will have squared. Plus, same here, you will have y for y squared. And then half of negative 4 is negative 2. So y minus 2 squared. So this one now, y squared minus 4y plus 4 is y minus 2 squared. That is factoring trinomials. 4 plus 1 plus 4 is positive 9. And as what you can see, this is already in standard form where h is negative 1, k is positive 2, and r squared is 9. So the center is at negative 1, positive 2, and the radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. So here, you need to do completing the square. After that, you factor so that you can express it as x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Don't forget that what you add to the left side of the equation, you should also add to the right side. Let us have another example. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 2y minus 59 equals 0. So put together the x's, x squared and negative 4x, and then add something to complete the perfect square trinomial. Put together the y's. Y squared plus 2y should be together and add something to complete the perfect square trinomial. Put the constant term to the right side. Negative 59 will be positive 59. And then take half of this one here. Half of negative 4, that is negative 2 squared is 4. So add 4 to both sides of the equation. For this one here, take half of 2. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So add 1 to both sides of the equation. And then factor. X squared minus 4x plus 4, you can have x and then half of this is negative 2. So x minus 2 squared. For this one here, for y squared, y, and then half of 2, you will have y plus 1. Y, and then for the second term, you just take half of this term here. That's 1. 59 plus 4 plus 1 is 64, and this is already in standard form with h positive 2, k negative 1, and r squared 64. So the center is 2 negative 1, and the radius is 8. Another example. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared minus 12x plus 22 equals 0. So put together the x's, and for the case of y, we don't have a y term here, just y squared, so that's already okay. So x squared minus 12x should be together, and add something to complete the perfect square trinomial. Put 22 to the right side of the equation, that will become negative 22. Take half of 12, that is negative 6. Negative 6 squared is 36. So you should add 36 to both sides of the equation. Factor this trinomial to, just take for the first term x, and then for the second term half of negative 12. So you will have x minus 6 squared plus y squared equals negative 22 plus 36 is 14. So this is already in standard form with h 6 and k 0, and r squared is 14. So the center is at 6, 0, and the radius is square root of 14. Example number 10. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation x squared plus y squared minus 10y minus 7 equals 0. So this time, x squared is alone without any other term with x. Y squared and negative 10y are already together. So complete the perfect square trinomial here, and then negative 7 you put to the right side. That will be positive 7. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. So add 25 to both sides of the equation. Factor this one. Just copy x squared. You will have y, and then half of negative 10 is negative 5. So y minus 5 squared equals 7 plus 25 is 32. And that is already in standard form with h equals 0, and k equals positive 5, and r squared equals 32. So the center is at 0, 5, and the radius is square root of 32. That can be simplified to 4 square root of 2. So the radius is 4 square root of 2. Example number 11. Identify the center and radius of the circle with equation 4x squared plus 4y squared minus 56x minus 24y plus 231 equals 0. As what you can see here, we already have a numerical coefficient for x squared and y squared, 4. So same, put together the x's and the y's. And then after that, factor out the constant term. So if you will factor 4 here, as a common factor, what will be left inside is you divide each term by 4. 4x squared divided by 4 is x squared. Negative 56x divided by 4 is negative 14x. And then after that, you have to add something to complete the perfect square trinomial. And you have to do the same for the y. Take out 4, so factor that out. 4y squared divided by 4. That is y squared. Negative 24y divided by 4. That is negative 6y. And add something to complete the perfect square trinomial equals negative 231 plus what you add here and what you add here. Okay, half of negative 14. Completing the square this time. Half of negative 14 is negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. So add 49 to here. But as what you can see, 49 here on the left side of the equation is still being multiplied with 4. So what you add to the right side should also be 49 times 4. Same as true with this one. Okay, let us complete the square. Half of negative 6 is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9, so add 9 here. And 9 is being multiplied with 4, so you should add 4 times 9 also to the right side of the equation. And then after that, factor this. So copy 4, and then x, half of negative 14 is negative 7 squared, plus 4. Then y, half of negative 6 is negative 3 squared, equals 4 times 49 is 196. 4 times 9 is 36. And then negative 231 plus 196 is negative 35. Negative 35 plus 36 is 1. And then for the standard equation, there should be no whole number here outside. So divide both sides of the equation by 4. If you divide both sides of the equation by 4, you should divide each term by 4. So divide this by 4, the 4 will cancel, you will get x minus 7 squared. Divide this by 4, the 4 will cancel, so you will have y minus 3 squared. And 1 divided by 4 is 1/4, or 1 over 4. And this time, it is already in standard form with h 7, k 7, and r squared is 1/4. So center is at 7, 3, k is 3, and then r squared is 1/4, so the square root of 1/4 is 1/2. So the radius is 1/2. Or you can have another process here where you can do an alternative process. That is, you divide immediately each of the terms here by 4. And then, after that, you do completing the square and transform into standard form. Here, what we did was we factored out 4, but in some cases, what's more convenient for them is, for other learners, is you divide each term by 4 first. That will be your first step. And then after that, you complete the square and so on. Number 12. Identify the center and radius of the circle with the equation x squared plus y squared plus x plus 1/2 y minus 59 over 16 equals 0. So put together the x's. You will have x squared plus x should be together. So we will have x squared plus x, and then complete the square. And then y squared and 1/2 y should also be together, and then after that, complete the square. And negative 59 over 16, you put to the other side of the equation, that will be positive 59 over 16. For this one here, the coefficient is, there's nothing that appears here, so the coefficient is understood as 1. What is half of 1? Half of 1 is 1/2. 1/2 squared is 1/4. So add 1/4 to both sides of the equation. In this case, what is half of 1/2? Half of 1/2 is 1/2 divided by 2, or that is 1/2 times 1/2. That is 1/4. And 1/4 squared is 1/16. So add 1/16 to both sides of the equation. And then factor this, x squared plus x plus 1/4. That will be x squared plus 1/2 squared. X, and then half of 1 is 1/2. So x plus 1/2 squared plus y plus half of 1/2 is 1/4. So 1/4 squared equals, since we are adding fractions here, they should have the same denominators, or you have to make them similar fractions. We have 16, 4, and 16, and the least common multiple of those numbers is 16. So write them all with denominator 16. We don't have problem for the first term and the last term, just the middle term. What is the equivalent of 1/4 in such a way that you have to you make the denominator 16? So if you make it 16, 16 divided by 4, that is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Okay, so the equivalent of 1/4 is 4/16. And this time, the three fractions are now similar fractions. We can already add them. So copy the left side of the equation, and then 59 plus 4 plus 1 is 64, and 64 divided by 16 is 4. So this one now is in standard form with h negative 1/2, k negative 1/4, and r squared equals 4. So the center is at negative 1/2 negative 4, and the radius is the square root of 4, which is 2. So that's it for our examples. This time, let us have a practice. So here you are given with the standard form from 1 to 3, but from 4 to 8, you're given with the general form. So you just apply what I showed you in the examples. So completing the square, express as standard form, and identify the center and the radius. So you will be needing more time here, especially in items number 4 to 8. So pause the video. Okay, let's check. In number 1, standard form. So center is at 0, 0, radius is 3. Number 2, center negative 4, 6, radius is 12. Number 3, center 0, negative 3, radius is 3 square root of 2. Number 4, center negative 5, 6, radius is 5. Number 5, center negative 3, radius is 3. Number 6, center 10, 3, radius square root of 5. Number 7, center 1, 0, radius 1/3. And lastly, number 8, center 1/3, negative 2/3, radius square root of 2. So for the process, you just have to go to the previous examples, to the examples here, and do the same process, and you will get these answers. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Bye!